Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Wichita Vice.
Hey, here we go.
Yes.
Hey, you guys. It's Chris with a K. Sorry, I'm slacking off today.
Straight from the Fortress of Solitude is the off-brand Superman, Marquez Eason.
There it is.
There it is. The punchline better than ever. The rated R superstar, Carlos Arreola. Edge, thank you for letting me borrow that. Yeah, right. You're going to probably sue me. All right, you got today. We will discuss the following characters. We're going to talk about Blade, Deacon Frost, Morbius, and Hunger. What's his name? What's his alias name? You said it right, Marquez.
Hunger.
Lucius.
Oh,
Lucius.
played
Yeah,
by
so
Matt
we're-
Smith.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Lucius.
That guy.
Yeah.
All right, you guys.
Okay.
Before anything, let's go ahead and let's take a quick pause and quick break and thank our following sponsors.
Guys, have you ever seen those little towns in Kansas and wondered, what's there? Let me tell you about a hidden gem in Salina, Sky Trampoline. It is the perfect place for both family outings and spending the day with friends. They have large open trampoline jump court, a ninja course, a setup to test or develop your parkour skills, and that's not even close to everything. Additional fun can be had in their foam pit, dodgeball area, a laser maze, and even an arcade. They also have specialty events with black light lit trampolines and a DJ. Sky Trampoline is located at 1820 South 9th Street in Salina, Kansas, and is open every day until at least 9 most days and sometimes even later. Give Sarah a call at 785-491-1118.
All right, you guys. So, hey, Morbius came out on April 1st. Did anybody get a chance to see the movie?
Yes, I saw it.
I have not yet. I've heard
Okay.
so many mixed reviews. Like, wow, either love it or hate it. There doesn't seem a whole lot in between. I haven't heard a lot of, oh, it was pretty good. It's either, oh my gosh, it was awesome, or I had one guy told me that he almost left during it, but he just refused to waste his money like that, so he sat through it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay.
So, but I haven't heard your guys' reviews. So.
Okay. Yeah. I'll start, Carlos. I'll start by saying like I was telling you earlier, is probably exactly what I expected. You know, I didn't go in with high expectations. I kind of just, it's Marvel, it's Sony, it's Morbius. I've always liked the vampire mythos, so maybe with a superhero twist or anti-hero kind of thing. I will have to say I love Jared Leto in this. I think he makes a much better Morbius than he does Joker. You know, my wife touched on this too. She said that he really came into his own. When you consider the fact that the movie was supposed to be out early 2020, but because the pandemic hit, they delayed it. You know,
I think even in the 2020 release, maybe had been slightly delayed at that point, just with production.
Yeah.
Your normal kind of things that pop up in the movie industry prior to the pandemic.
Yeah, and that,
like maybe 6 months or so, not a huge amount, but was shortly delayed.
Yeah,
and then the pandemic, and then the long delay.
Yeah, there's three main metrics that I use when I judge a superhero movie. Number one is the casting. You know, does the character fit the actor or actress fit the role? You know, number two, how close is it to the comic book counterpart? You know, that it's based on. You know, how do they fit the mold? You know, do they try to break the mold and retell a story or whatever? You know, and this is kind of just my emotional resonance. You know, how does a movie connect with me emotionally? Those are the three main metrics I use to judge a basic superhero movie. And I think for me, Morbius in that regard, in those three regards, it did okay. I mean, it hit on all points, all three well. I mean, I couldn't tell initially if the love interest, if they were just friends, if they were just colleagues, if they were gonna go there, you know. But if I had to say, it was okay. It was just okay. It was just an average film, you know. What about you, Carlos?
I was entertained. I mean, overall, Jared Leto, his acting abilities has changed a lot ever since he won the Oscar and playing the Dallas Buyers Club. He did a great job in that movie. And also, the fact is that I do agree with you 100%. I feel this character, he portrays it much better than the Joker. I did like the Zack Snyder cut way, the way he was playing the Joker, more dark, less funny. I'll take that. The essence of the movie itself, it was a dark tone. There was really no comedy in it. I mean, except Tyrese Gibson's acting ability. He not bad. I mean, it looked like he was trying to be like serious, but it was hard for me to take him serious because I wanted him to. For some reason, you look at him and you're thinking he's got the baby boy. You know, when you order Fast and Furious. No, he had to maintain this. It's kind of like he got in trouble. He got a write up at work,
Like
so
he's
now he's
trying
just
not to laugh.
trying
almost.
not to laugh and show his bright
No,
teeth.
look serious. Look serious. Yeah.
And by the way, shout out to you, Tyrese. He's a great guy.
Yeah, he
He's-
is.
I met him in person. He's a great guy. I mean, so shout out to you. I wish you nothing but the best. He's a great singer.
Yes.
So your older stuff was better, but I'm not here to diss your newer stuff, but your older stuff was better. But let's go ahead and let's dive in. So since we're talking about Morbius, let's get to know him on the comic book side. So he appeared in the Amazing Spider-Man issue 101 back in 1971. He was created by Roy Thomas and Jill Kane. So his alias name is Michael Morbius. So the set of skills that they say he has, which we got to see the other day, he's got superhuman strength. He is a trained biochemist when he's not being a vampire, so he's got a dual job. It's always good. Check out the Cutting Crew. We did talk about that the other day, how to be investing in yourself. Also, he can fly, and obviously he's just he's awesome. He's amazing. So let's go ahead and I'm going to turn this over to you, Marquez, again. Tell me a little bit more about Morbius.
Okay, well, in the movie, his movie counterpart, he has to drink blood to sustain himself, to stave off his blood disease that he had when he was human. But he was, I think, the first scientist to create something called artificial blood, which is blue. It's a blue-colored blood. But in the movie, the blue only sustained him for so long. It's the red that sustained him much longer, and it made it to where he was more feral and more vicious. You know, he had to hunt, and plus he didn't like what he had to do to get the red blood, you know.
Right.
So that's really, and I love the way that dynamic sort of worked out. You know, it's like, okay, he has to feed. It gave it this ticking clock feel, you know, and that was actually kind of cool to me, you know, because I was wondering, okay, is he going to succumb to the red, or is he going to try his best to stay on blue? I was surprised that they didn't. Oh, spoiler alert. He didn't try to resynthesize the blue to make it more effective or add something to it. Like in the Blade series, they made a better serum for him.
Right.
You know.
Continued to.
Yeah. And that was kind of what this was like. The blue blood sustained him. It was artificial, but it did stave off his hunger, you know.
And he wasn't infected, Michael Morbius, in the traditional vampiric sense
No.
of ingesting vampire blood or bitten by a vampire.
No.
It was he created a serum. Is that right?
Yeah,
Or-
from
or found
mixing bat DNA with human DNA, and doing all this the research based on.
So he's the real Batman,
In a sense, you could say that.
like Spider-Man's mixed DNA.
Yeah, and I know this is. Did anyone else notice that they played Batman's music, the musical score from Batman, the Dark Knight?
Dark Knight trilogy.
Yeah.
I have to watch it.
Okay.
With that in mind.
It just sounded like it.
I don't want to
know
get
it.
sued, so no comment.
Okay. Oh, come on.
I mean, we're on a low budget here. Then we're going to start asking the friends out in the audience to help us out for legal problems.
Okay, maybe it's just me.
I don't think it's our problem. It sounds like it's Morbius's problem.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just me.
Sony's
Because of
problem.
that, Chris, they're going to take away the sequel.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be Sony and WB fighting. WB's got all that DC stuff.
Now, here's the thing with Morbius. Now, in the night, if for the people out there, if they don't remember, back in the 90s, you remember the Spider-Man cartoon that was on Fox?
Yeah.
Well, Morbius, he was in Empire. What was the university? What was the university that Peter Parker and Flash all them went to? What was it called?
It was,
Oh.
it was the city or
New York City University or Empire State
was it
University?
NYU?
Yeah.
Because they're in New York. That's
Okay.
not,
Yeah.
not fake.
Well,
schools.
remember-
Yeah,
I think
they
they
have
went to
it.
NYU. Right?
Michael
Yeah.
Morbius, he he's a foreigner, comes in. He's a brilliant, like I say, he's a biochemist. He's a brilliant guy. And what happens? He mixes with the the bats. And what has happened is he gets bit, and then he becomes the vampire, the living vampire. Now, in the comic books, he was suffering from a rare disease, and so with his brilliant mind going in, he realized that during the trials, that the bats had something that would help. And I don't know the fancy words. You know, if you want to go check that out, I mean, we'll send you something here shortly on the link what it is. But overall, it helped him out, and what do you know? He becomes the living vampire. But he's out there. So we want to give a shout out real quick to our YouTube channel here, the Mary Marvelette. These guys here, check them out. They do more in depth as well. So thank you guys for the references. So Marquez, looking at his powers, you know he's entangled with Spider-Man on multiple occasions. Also, we will talk about Blade shortly. And him and Blade, wow, what an amazing relationship.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm being serious. Serious relationship. I mean, this is counseling 101. Now, with Morbius going in, and we talked about the movie, but comparing to the comic books, I feel that the movie portrayed his skills well. Yeah. The attributes that he brought in was on great. It was great points. Yeah. And overall, with Michael Morbius, as we see later on going into the series. Now, remember, we always say that to the audience, when you're watching the movie, you guys, if you have a little bit of time, which you do, just do some back research. Look at your comic book character and say, okay, well, let's see what's his story of origins at. Let's see where we're at. You'll be disappointed a little bit when you find out that that either Sony or the MCU changes it, but hey, just live with it, all right? Yeah. We just got to deal with it. But overall, what I want to say is about Michael Morbius, he's a unique anti-hero, especially with the Venom, with Deadpool. He falls along the lines of being a kind of a good guy, being a bad guy. Yeah. And like I said, back to Jared Leto, I think he did a great job portraying Morbius.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds, I don't know. I haven't seen it.
Like I said, it's short. It's a short movie, but it's worth a watch. I really recommend it.
Does it seem like, is there a possibility you think that they're setting up to combine it with, or is it more like they're going to be adding it to the Sinister Six type stuff?
Yeah.
Or is it something that, because they're coming out with a new Blade? Obviously Blade and Morbius, as you said, and I know we're going to get more into Blade here shortly, have a long history together. Yeah. That'd be pretty cool to see on screen.
Yeah, I would.
Because you have a true vampire,
and then you have a half vampire. You have a living vampire and then a half vampire.
Yeah,
but that's the thing in the Marvel universes, in the comic book, there's always been different types of vampires.
But I guess we'll talk about, because when Blade drinks blood, doesn't he get the full strength of?
Well, he gets more. He loses his control, his sense of control. He always has the full strength. Okay. It's like
he just keeps it.
Yeah, I think Morbius and Blade, in their respective rights, they're both in something entirely new. Mm-hmm. Morbius, he created this serum, and he changed his DNA on a scientific level. I think that Blade is half. He's a daywalker, so they're both unique in that respect, in that regard. Now,
but they both kind of hunt as vampire hunters themselves.
Yeah,
are also hunting each other because they're both vampire-esque.
See, Morbius, he does in the comic book. He always wanted to cure himself. Blade, he was like, he hates himself, and he threw himself in any situation almost recklessly because he kind of felt like that was part of his penance. Yeah, what he was, not who he was, but what he was.
Yeah.
Now, you have two, philosophies that kind of clash. I think it makes for a very interesting dynamic. Like, you're right. I would love to see that on the big screen. Just how these two get along. That's what I'm looking forward to. It's just Blade and Morbius.
I know we're looking forward to that. But before we jump the gun on that, let's go ahead and turn over a little bit to the villain side. So we've got Hunger. Again, let's call out the name again. What was his name? His alias name?
Lucius Crown.
Lucius.
Is that what I saw?
I thought Lucius Crown. Is it how you say Lucius?
Lucius.
I think the X is silent.
Oh.
If we are wrong, we are not liable, okay? All right, so he appeared in Spider-Man issue 76 back in 1997. He was created by Howard Mackey. Well, his skills are almost similar as Morbius, but the difference is he's got a little bit of dark force magic on him. He does things a slight differently than Morbius. So let's talk a little bit about his history real quick. So in the comic books, he was an agent of Hydra. And what was going on there was, as a scientist himself, what he did was he was paid to go out and take out one of the field agents there. His name was William Fields. And what happened was, is long story short, he killed someone that was very important. And so that goes into a situation to where he starts to have his own kind of storyline. And in that being said, there was characters that they don't talk about a lot. And later on, we'll talk about like Hammerhead. We'll talk a little bit more about the Hydra itself. So then what's going on is later on in comic books, then I keep hitting this plate. You guys, I'm going to move this plate over so they don't think we're using attacks here. Now remember, you guys, in the comic books is different. In the movie, he steals a serum, and spoiler alerts for the people that have not seen the movie. In the movie, he steals the work that Dr. Morbius does, and because they're both suffering from that condition, and he becomes a vampire. But in the comic books, Morbius attacks him, and so pretty much he bit him.
Yeah.
That was lunch right there, lunch. But he makes it out of it, and what happens is he becomes a living vampire himself. And so he entangles with Morbius. That's his arch enemy. See, now Hunger, on the other hand, he don't care.
No.
He's like, you know what?
Yeah.
Delicious.
Yeah.
It's Golden Corral at its max. He's
Yeah.
going out there. He's biting everybody. You know, he's getting different flavors.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Now you've got people coming in the mix. You have people that's Morbius that he's got to go against. You got to deal with Blade. And he has entangled with Spider-Man. He's just the Marvel universe itself. You start seeing other players come in. So you want to dive in a little bit more on Hunger, Marquez?
Well, yeah, like you said, he's the arch enemy. I don't think that they should have used him in the way that they did. I won't spoil it, but I would love to see Hunger come back in some capacity. You know, it's like one of those things. Like, you guys remember when superhero movies were kind of just you know.
Oh yeah.
They would always kill the villain. I'm like, no, don't kill the villain. That's something that should just be out there.
It was before the universes phases existed in there.
Yeah, and with this whole blood, I mean, because we don't know the limits of a living vampire's abilities as far as healing and stuff like that. But I think Hunger, we'll see him again. He'll be back because he's just too much a part of Morbius's history, for them to just kind of like,
Well,
okay.
and in the movie, it's his brother.
Yeah, they're brothers, actually.
Because in comic book lore, he was a Hydra agent.
Yeah.
And just kept running
Like
things that kept interacting.
Like we said
with
again,
Morbius.
it was another
It was one of those big
Sony
changes,
switch
sure.
up. So
I know, but then see, like I think of comic books a little differently than most people. I try not to put that line in the sand as far as, to me, the character is the character. There is no difference between the comic book version. And now, obviously, there is a difference, but I'm saying that I think it all works given it's given the story and the setting that you put the character in. Like,
but we were kind of talking about this before, where like Marvel and particularly Sony's Marvel is more notorious for really twisting the comic book versions of the characters to fit what they need to fit the movies.
The story, yeah.
Whereas like DC sticks pretty hardcore to their traditional classic storylines. They might build up from it or flare it out a little bit, but it's very stuck to that. Whereas Marvel, you've got like, you're just, we got to throw this guy in here because he's part of that universe. And
so just throw him.
Anyone that does know Morbius probably knows who Hunger is. So we got to stick him in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Not in any capacity for his actual use as Hydra, because we've got Hydra in MCU and we can't use him here.
Exactly.
Because that's Disney's property. So Sony has to just slap some crap on.
And that's the thing. And that's what I was. That's another thing. I think based on what we've seen so far in the movie, Hunger, he likes being a living vampire. He likes the hunger. He likes the rage. He loves the lose control.
Did you see how he danced yesterday?
Yeah.
That said it all.
Well, and
whereas Morbius doesn't like being.
And
what
in
he
the
is.
comic books, it shows that because he goes through it before becoming the living vampire like Morbius. He has some pretty dark entanglements, even with Morbius, where with his wife or his fiance, I think.
Yeah.
and Hammerhead killing him, and basically Morbius and Spider-Man stopping him from helping her.
And that's
when he was a Hydra agent, and then he becomes Hunger as the living vampire. So he's done. Like he's like, I'm here to kill, and probably feels more powerful when he's drinking blood, and
like I say,
he's given himself over to that dark side, whereas Morbius is like, I'll use it as I need it, but I don't want it.
Yeah. So in a sense, Hunger's more powerful because he embraces what he is versus Morbius tries to resist it.
Which is what they could have done with Venom and Carnage. Because Carnage, what's his name? Sony's kind of been slacking, I feel like, lately.
Whose name do you want to say?
Huh?
Who?
The guy that was Carnage.
Woody Harrelson?
The actor?
Not the
Cletus Cassidy?
Cletus Cassidy.
Yeah.
Like he had given himself to Carnage, and I just thought that whole thing could have been so much better
if Eddie.
Well, if it was produced properly. I don't know. I feel like they left a lot on the cutting room floor.
Yeah,
and I suspect that Morbius feels a little bit the same way, and it's been a little bit of a habit of Sony.
Yeah.
It hasn't happened with the latest Spider-Mans because Marvel is kind of like, we're helping you out here.
Yeah.
Helping a brother out. That's what
Sony needs it right now.
They need it because they're getting on my nerves, on my last nerves. Sony, get it together. Look, here's my thing. If it was my way and I was able to get everybody in the round table and negotiate, let the MCU pay for the characters or buy it back. I know Spider-Man you guys won't sell. You guys are just, it's just not going to happen because it's just too much money. But okay, divide it out. Like, think of like Batman. Okay, so if you want to do Batman this way, that's fine. And we're going to do Batman the Robert Pattinson way. We're going to do it that way as well. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
But you guys, come on. Can we have some consistency, some continuity together that, okay, this is how we're following. Bend the rules a little bit. I'm okay. But come on, you guys, help me out. Because there's... The thing is with Morbius, if he does his like standalone films, there's a lot more characters he's going to have to face. And I agree, bringing Hunger back can be the stepping stone of something even better and bigger. Yeah. Especially in the lure of, especially if you're trying to bring in Blade. Can you imagine bringing Blade in and then cameo appearance from Spider-Man, like how Iron Man did for Spider-Man? Kind of that kind of entanglement. That'd be great.
Yeah,
that'd be great. That would just be like a Will Smith situation. Just slap someone. Slap.
Oh, I knew it was coming. I knew you had to get one in there.
To the audience, it is coming. It is coming. Stay tuned. All right, you guys. So let's go ahead and another quick pause and thanks to our following sponsors.
Hey guys, it's Chris with a K coming at you to let you know about a couple of my favorite podcasts, Silver Cosmos Movie Review and Wichita Vice. Join us in Silver Cosmos as we go in-depth analysis and galaxy-expanding reviews, and also Wichita Vice as we dig deep into all of our favorite comic book and sci-fi characters and storylines. Again, that's Silver Cosmos Movie Review and Wichita Vice.
So we're thankful again. Thank you to all the sponsors who help us out here. So you guys like and subscribe, help us out. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Give us visit those guys.
And then also, if you have a suggestion, if you want a character to be on the show,
if you want to be on the show,
if you want to be on the show, send in your resume. We'll leave it at that. But hey, you know what? There's always an open mic. Yes. I'm a firm believer of giving everybody a chance here. Absolutely. All right, so let's go ahead. Let's dive into another villain. And he's another vampire. He's a pretty bad
vampire
dude.
Day.
It's a vampire day. Trust me, it's bad. So this guy's name is Deacon Frost.
Yeah.
This guy's pretty bad. He appeared in the Tomb of Dracula issue 13 back in 1973. He was created by Marv Wolfman and Gene Colan. Now here's a Colin, whatever it is. It's close. I'm sorry. So his alias name is Whitehair. Yeah,
interesting.
Yeah, very interesting.
Strange.
So his skills is he can pretty much bite you and create doppelgangers of his victims. He's also powerful, and then what he does is his goal, and we're gonna dive into it. He has a goal, and to be a powerful vampire, but we don't know too much about it. But we're about to find out. Let's start this off with Marquez. Marquez, tell me a little bit more about Deacon Frost.
Okay, I'm gonna reference the Blade movies. Than the comics. Okay, is that okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
I guess.
Okay.
Like we got
Well,
a
no.
choice.
Well, that's the one I know the most of too.
Yeah, I think most people are familiar with Deacon from the movies, but Deacon Frost was the main villain in the first Blade movie. I think it was 1998 when the movie first came out. But no, he is trying to awaken something called the Blood God named Lamagra, which will transform all of the Earth, everyone on Earth, into vampires. Which I always thought that was strange because then what would they eat? You know, I remember watching that thinking, okay, is that really a good idea? I mean, then you'd all be on serum, you know.
Yeah.
But no, but that's really what Deacon Frost is. He's a vicious, ruthless villain, and a lot of the vampire hierarchy don't respect him because he's not a pureblood. You know, he was merely turned as opposed to born. But I never knew how that all worked in regards to. They never really went in depth as how a vampire is born. I thought that vampires couldn't conceive, you know. But now that takes me to the comic. Deacon Frost was a scientist. He was a similar to Morbius. A lot of his story was, and he was just looking on ways to increase his powers, basically trying to become a god. You know, which I think he eventually did in the movie, but then, you know, Blade was just too much for him.
Just in time.
Yeah.
Well, in that, yes, in the comic books, he was a scientist, and what happened was he accidentally injected himself. And what happened is when he became a vampire, the vampire community pretty much said, "You're not real. You're a poser. Get out of here. We don't want nothing to do with you." And of course, you're being rejected because you become a vampire, but no one's taking you serious. So he decided, "Oh, okay, I'm going to make it serious."
Yeah.
And he had his own agenda, and by doing that, he created Doppelganger. So in the movie, we know a little bit back of his story. We're going to talk about Blade here in a little bit, but let's just say he's Frankenstein. He created Blade.
Yeah,
and we'll talk more about that here in a second.
Just about.
So this leads it up to
Which in
the
the movie
arch-nemesis-
he didn't have that creation portion in the movie.
No.
He was just the bad guy trying
but
to
he
rise
knew,
to power.
but he knew a lot about Blade's history because, of course, you know, he bit his mom. I mean, so
Yeah,
that's
he was the one
that's
that-
where we're at. But like I said, we'll dive in that in a little bit. But overall, his ultimate goal was to be like what Marquez said, and in the movie that battle was the best. Well, I didn't care too much about when Deacon Frost had that girl. Remember, he held that girl hostage and he threw her. I was like, dang, this guy's vicious.
Yeah, has sunblock.
Why the
on.
hot dog stand? He could have threw her somewhere else, but he threw her the hot dog stand. I mean, there goes all the food there. So
Yeah, that was bad.
But here's my thing, though. The actor that portrayed him, he did a great job, Deacon Frost. I can't see anybody else playing him.
Stephen Dorff. Yes, he did. He really
did a great job.
Yeah, it was fantastic. I love that movie, by the way, guys.
Yeah,
Blade
the
1
first
and 2.
That was the best one.
Yeah, Blade. I love 1 and 2 equally. Part 3, Trinity. I kind of
That was weird.
Yeah, I was like
Part 2.
That was a cash grab. Throwing
Yeah,
some young,
it was.
young
And plus,
blood.
I found out all about the behind the scenes issues and stuff.
Oh, I didn't
and it
know
was
about
just, oh man.
Well, when you have
So-
Ryan Reynolds and Jessica Biel there, and you got, it's just when I look at Ryan Reynolds there, it's just like it led us to Deadpool. He gave us clues and hints he was going to be Deadpool because look what he was doing. Like he was a comedian, and it just didn't mesh well to have Wesley Snipes. Jessica Biel did all right
Yeah, she
as
did.
the night. They're called the Night
I didn't
Stalkers.
really
right?
Yeah, Whistler's illegitimate daughter.
I
She
didn't.
was good in that.
I didn't understand the need to have the Ryan Reynolds character
Yeah.
in that. Like it should have just been he basically was taking Whistler's daughter under his wing
Kind of
to
thing.
protect her and make that relationship much more dynamic rather than
Yeah.
throwing this campy dude in
Team.
for.
Yeah, they had a whole team.
It was a
of
con.
people.
He was.
Yeah,
I mean, Ryan Reynolds was the comedy relief in that movie.
Yeah.
Just like he was for the Wolverine movie. Yeah, that was a little back-to-back era that I'm sure he's not a fan of.
But we
Yeah.
know that we don't know yet if Deacon Frost will make an appearance in the new Blade. Now it was supposed to be a TV series.
Yeah,
Thank goodness
yeah.
because Sticky Fingers, I just was not
Yeah,
sold on him
okay,
on Blade.
I just-
he looked great on poster.
Yeah, he
But
did.
then when it came into scenes, it's kind of like you're auditioning
Well-
for the Wesley Snipes film.
But that's just it, Carlos. I got to say this. I think Wesley Snipes spoiled us.
He
I
was
think
so
if we,
good.
if we would have saw Sticky Fingers first, I think it would have done okay. I think it would have been much better if that would have been the introduction to the character cinematic. wise, but I think a lot of it, Wesley Snipes, the stuff he was doing on screen, it just it made us like, okay, no.
Well, if he would have paid his taxes, we would have had this problem. We could have had a fourth Blade. It could have happened, but no.
Yeah,
You thought he would have learned his lesson in Money Train, but he didn't. It looks like
man, I
he
forgot all about that movie.
So,
Him and Woody Harrelson.
yeah.
Okay, so
He's popular. We're talking about Woody Harrelson a lot today. But overall, Deacon Frost, I hope that in the new Blade movie. Now, could you tell me the actor's name again? Ali. What's his?
Stephen Dorff.
No,
the new
one that's
Blade.
gonna-
Ursula Ali.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great actor.
He
Gosh,
played-
he's so great.
He played Cottonmouth in the
He was
Luke
so
Cage
good in that.
series. Yeah,
he
was-
really stole. I mean,
Yeah, he did. Yeah,
I'm a big fan of every good movie has a great villain. Like
Yeah.
if it's going to be a good movie, it's got to have a great villain.
And actually, I followed him, not in the
Actually, great
movies. I
movie.
followed him in the show called House of Cards.
Yeah.
oh,
Yes, he
yeah.
was
I never
phenomenal.
watched
He was
it,
that
but-
low-key political guy. You know, he was the one that was kind of behind the scenes. But anyway, so back to Deacon Frost. I just hope we get to see him in
Yeah.
the next movie.
Well,
So-
and being Marvel, the MCU side is that Blade. I think they're probably going to stick closer to the Deacon Frost. They tend to stick a little closer to the comic book style.
Yeah.
And so I think he may not be a Hydra agent per se, but I could because
No.
the MCU's got a strong Hydra component already built in with the Captain America stuff. So he
Yeah.
could be an ex-Hydra agent and build from there.
doesn't
But
surprise me. It
I'd like to
doesn't
see.
surprise me.
I like to see. I love seeing the comic books, like the organic change that happens as new writers take over in stories. But I like
Yeah.
it when they stick somewhat close, like we were talking about with the DC deal. Like stick close. Like someone made a great character. At least if you're going to use them, like maybe try to use stick close to what they started with.
And that's the thing. They just characters change so much. I mean, Marvel is just riddled with a lot of continuity. I mean, I love Marvel. Don't get me wrong, but it's just there's like I remember. It was a comic book I read, and it was Deadpool. Deadpool appeared in the comic. I can't remember the actual book, but sometimes
he'd do that every
Deadpool,
now and
he's a great fighter, and then other times he's terrible. Sometimes he can heal from extremes, and then other times it takes him hours to heal. It's like, guys, get this right. And like we were talking about earlier, that's the one thing I do love about DC. Their continuity is from book to book, from story to story.
These 6 things don't stray from that.
Yeah, I wish
do
they
some
would-
stuff around that, but these 6 things always happen.
Like pillars.
Yeah, like
okay, you could tell your story around
Superman's
this.
always from a planet Krypton that blew up
Yeah.
and allergic to his home planet for some reason.
And I
I
like
always thought that was weird.
I
But
like Deacon Frost as this guy that's just searching for ultimate power. Because
Yes.
because ambition, it blinds you.
well, and to me, it makes sense as Deacon Frost searching for that ultimate power when you were a Hydra agent.
Yeah.
Because that's what they're building. Their philosophy is power, power, power. So,
Yeah.
so then as you get disillusioned from that and you want to conquer even the Hydra, your ultimate goal is a power greater than that. And so then it builds along that line of his search for ultimate power and
Yeah.
control.
And
So, and I mean, they didn't get into a lot of that. He was just the elder vampire that was tired and wanted
Yeah.
to control everything and had been around. And well, he was a younger elder, I guess.
younger. He was
He had been around for a long time, but wasn't the oldest of the.
no.
Because doesn't he have to sacrifice some of them in that movie?
Yeah, the spirits of the 12.
Yeah.
12 sacrifices.
Like the-
to- forcible. They weren't volunteers.
No.
They.
But
Yeah.
he did use his mind control, I thought, for some of that. Or was it? Did he just have his lackeys hold people?
Hold him. I don't think he. I know he is capable of that in the comic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, you guys. Well, we're going to go ahead and we're going to change a little gears. And what's going to happen is now we're going to always promote the main character that we have. So as always, we always have to give a quick shout out to our following sponsors. We'll be right back.
Have you ever looked at your windshield and saw a chip or even a small crack, and you wonder what you could do to prevent future problems? Well, luckily here in Wichita, there's a company called Clear Visions. It's a locally owned and operated company, and they'll even show up on site. So even if you're at a birthday party, restaurant, whatnot, it doesn't take very long. So please give them a call, 316-258-9654, to help prevent future cracks or even shatters of your windshield. I got mine taken care of, and it didn't cost me hardly a thing in comparison to a new windshield. So please give them a call today. Number is 316-258-9654.
All right, you guys. Last but not least, the hero, the man of the hour. We have Eric Brooks, a.k.a. Blade.
Yes.
Yes, Blade appeared in The Tomb of Dracula, issue number 10 back in 1973. Also created by Marv Wolfman and Gene Colan. Blade has a lot of set of skills here. And I know we're hyping him up more than everybody else in Morbius, but he is so cool. I mean, this guy here, I mean, he's a half vampire. He's an amazing swordsman. The guy has supernatural senses about other creatures. I mean, the guy is just, he's just a tactical. We can't cuss here, so we let's just say he's just amazing guy. Like I know him, anyways. So let's talk a little bit more about him. I mean, the guy has made such an impression that he was even he's part of the Avengers. Yeah. He's that guy they call up on, when people are on vacation.
When stuff gets strange.
So he's a C-lister.
And when someone else says, hey, let's go down the deck. Let's see. Oh, hey, there's Blade. Let's go. Let's give him a call. Yeah. And then also in the movies we've discussed that he was portrayed really well by Wesley Snipes, and he's upcoming going to be portrayed by, again, say the name,
Mahershala Ali. Yeah,
amazing. So let's go ahead. Let's talk about Blade. So Marquez, I'm going to give you the floor for Blade.
Well, yeah. See, Blade actually was one of those characters. He was just one of those obscure kind of like. I remember when the movie first came out in 1998. I was kind of like, okay, what are they doing? Blade. I mean, I was excited because it was Wesley Snipes, but after I watched the movie, I thought, wow, this is what movies could be now. Mm-hmm. Someone's taking a comic book character seriously, and they didn't recognize. There's still to this day a lot of my friends that don't know that Blade is a Marvel character.
Right, just thought it was just a movie series.
Yeah, just thought it was a movie, and I was like, no, that's. And they were like asking me, like my brother, he didn't know, and he said, well, did Marvel buy the rights to? I'm like, no, he's always been a Marvel character.
They never really advertised it that way. I think because of the more mature vampire nature to it. I think
and plus
the MPAA thinks that blood is bad, I guess.
Yeah, and it came out before Marvel was doing this whole expansive universe thing. This was actually, it's been credited with kicking off the superhero movie genre to the way it is. I mean, getting it to...
Well, and I remember when it first came out, I wasn't sure because you're coming off of like Interview with a Vampire craze. And some of as vampire, production values were increasing in the 90s. And vampires there was a really kind of a goth rage there. The vampires got really popular. I mean, you had Eddie Murphy being a vampire.
Vampire in Brooklyn,
not a good one. Leslie Nielsen, another bad vampire.
Yeah, and this is before Twilight.
Hey, Leslie Nielsen was awesome.
That was not a good movie.
The other door.
It was hilarious, but not good. But so I wasn't sure, but excited, like you were saying, with the just like, oh, this is kind of cool, like something different. And I really I'm glad you noted that he's a swordsman, because I thought that was kind of what the action sequences kind of leaned on was the sword play.
Yeah. And
which was super cool in my opinion. Like it was.
Yeah. And if you go in the comic book in depth, that's what the vampire started calling him because of the weapon he used to dispatch them.
Right.
Was his sword.
And I just that was the coolest outfit, man, with the two swords and the coming out. Yeah,
and the tattoos on his neck, and the way, the look of the character, the tone.
Oh yeah, Wesley Snipes was just.
I mean, it was just so Wesley Snipes' character. I mean, he brought it to life.
When sometimes I think people forget a little bit how great of an actor he was. Like. Yeah, the range of roles that he had. I mean, shoot, he was playing a drag queen at one point. You know?
He did. Yeah.
So I mean, but even before this, and so his range of roles was pretty extensive. And he was and it wasn't his first foray into the action field. He had already done a couple action, heavy films by that time. So he wasn't new to that. He really did that well. Like I thought that he really did the martial arts scenes.
Oh,
and stuff.
Yes.
Like he took it up to a next level. This was prior to the Matrix a little bit.
Yeah.
Because we talk, check out Silver Cosmos Matrix review. We talk about how Matrix changed the game on some of those things.
Yeah.
But this was a game changer before that game changer.
Yeah.
When it came to that, and like you said, a lot of people didn't even think it was comic books. But for those of us that did know where it came from, Like, to see that kind of stuff on screen was like, oh.
And I have to say this, the influence that this movie had on the entire vampire mythos, I mean, it changed the way I saw vampire movies. I have to make this reference, guys, because it's my wife tells me it's absurd, but Blade influenced the mythos so much that when Twilight came out, and I watched Twilight, I just wanted Blade to show up and kill everybody. That's how much it influenced me. I was just thinking, like, what if Blade was there, and how would Silver affect?
I mean, he is the vampire killer.
The
so.
sparkle. I mean, does garlic hurt sparkling vampires?
And would the wolves help?
How does that work? But no, I mean,
Can't even go for a romantic scene because Blade's right there. He's like, I got you now.
Just staring at him.
But no, that was actually just something
He's
I
just
would
sharpening
Yeah.
he's sharpening his sword and then sharpening. What was that? What was that?
Yeah, that thing was
the
cool.
glaive.
Yeah.
Yeah, that he would throw made of pure silver, and it would come back and he'd catch it.
And it
not
sliced
just,
the crap out of everybody.
but not just Twilight, but when Underworld came out, I remember thinking, how would Blade mix into this?
Oh, he would do
How did
well
this
in Under.
work?
I think
You
that
know,
would he'd fit in pretty well with the Underworld guys. I think
you know what I mean? And I started thinking all kinds of different stuff. Like, okay, this is Blade. It actually changed the way I saw vampires in general, in movies and in books and everything. Everything that's the reference point. In fact, Blade was a pinnacle by which I measured everything that I did pertaining to vampires. You know,
if it fit Blade or where
Yeah.
Blade stacked up to him. Or,
yeah, that was it. That was what I compared it to. So
that's why, because when I was saying, you know, it was like the time of vampires. I just thought of like From Dusk Till Dawn came out.
yeah,
Underworld, that was a little later, I guess, but there was another one I was just anyway. It was like vampires.
yeah.
So I thought it was good.
What did you think of the actual blade, his sword, which had the mechanism that changed the handle?
Oh, yeah.
and shot the spikes out if you touched it without setting off the.
Isn't that how he got Deacon Frost at the end?
No, he used something. It's an anticoagulant called EDTA. That
Well, no, I know the sword was key at the end of that something. He got it to pop. Maybe it was to get free.
Yeah, it got free the
Right there at the end.
anticoagulant. Yeah, the EDTA, and it exploded Deacon Frost, and it was just an epic scene.
But-
and I remember everybody after the movie. I'll tell you how crazy it was. I saw people outside of the theater trying to do that. Trying to kick that, trying to do that, you know, throwing stuff in the air, catching it behind their backs, and yeah, you know, I won't lie to you and say I didn't join in and try to
give it a whirl.
Yeah, we were kind of
Yeah, definitely set up for the ongoing comic books, and I think it. Well, I don't know if it could have gone much further because that third one was getting a little stale in the movies.
Yeah,
but I'm glad that they're revisiting it. I think unlike they've done with Spider-Man in the last 20 years, which is keep shoving it down our throats, new versions, which is not bad. They've got a really good one. I hope they stick with it. But I think you got to have a little gap in between franchises sometimes.
Okay. I'm worried though about because I don't think Blade works if it's not an R-rated property. I don't think because
true.
you
I
have
think
to,
they're a little more open to that. Like Disney has now opened up all the Netflix TVMA stuff. They've put that now on Disney Plus into
Really?
They adjusted Disney Plus to now have a parental mode and kids modes.
Oh.
And you can now set up accounts.
I mean, that's why they're called Marvel Knights.
it was-
so they
they
could
did it
put
for
its own area, especially for the kids. So it's that parental advisory.
Oh,
Yeah, so
I
now
didn't know-
like
I
I
didn't
set
know
that
that.
up for my kids, and there was a couple shows that because if you have it set up to where they can only watch kids shows, like anything that's PG is gone. And then of course my kids are old enough. I let them watch
Yeah,
PG,
no,
and they're like, "Oh, all the good shows are gone." I'm like, well, but yeah, so they've set up. So now all this old Marvel stuff that was on Netflix, there's Jessica Jones, Daredevil, that's now all on Disney Plus available to watch. Luke Cage, and those are
Wow.
definitely mature audience
yes, they
subject.
are.
I mean, there's not a lot of graphic nudity. There's a lot of graphic violence.
Yeah,
A lot of vulgar language and sexual situations and all that stuff. So it's definitely MA, but that's now on Disney Plus, and I think Moon Knight is actually
Yes, it
maybe
started, yeah.
I don't know if it's MA, but I think it's above like kid level. Like it's the most hardcore thus far of the Marvel TV shows to come out.
Okay, I haven't watched it yet.
Spoiler alert, that's the character we're going to do on the next episode.
Oh,
of
is
Wichita
it? Okay.
Vice.
All right.
We
Yeah,
will
I-
do Moon Knight, indeed.
So we'll
Okay.
be I haven't started it yet. I like to let a couple build up. But so I do think that they're gonna. I don't know if they'll go full R.
Yeah.
But I think they'll push the PG-13 pretty hard
on Blade.
Blade. And also because a lot of Blade stuff is going to be the vampire blood and stuff, and I don't think the MPAA is quite as hard on that, making that an straight hard R to show blood as much. They're more with the vulgarities and nudities and stuff. I think.
Okay.
I think blood's been a little bit lessened, so I don't know. It'll be tough, but they did it. I mean, the first one I think was PG-13. It may have even been PG.
I think it was R. I think they all were R-rated.
Were they all?
I believe so. I have to look to make sure, but I because we all were wondering about that because at that time,
Let's checking it.
I think who was. I think the first one was definitely R-rated. Yeah, because the scene with the blood was considered, especially the opening scene
that had to been rated R.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a New Line
back
Cinema.
in the it was.
Yeah,
It's mostly New Line Cinema. It depends. It could be because I mean, look at Mortal Kombat when they did.
Which
Mortal
is
yeah, Mortal Kombat has to be R-rated.
That had to be also one of the reasons that people didn't think of it as being a comic book because. Yeah. Comic book movie means it has to be for kids, right?
Yeah.
It's comic books. Yeah. Comic books are for kids. I heard that.
I was that guy.
I just heard that
I
today.
thought Blade was just another Wesley Snipes movie until it was like, no. And then when I remember in the Spider-Man, because in Spider-Man, Blade, he just had anger problems.
Yeah.
Spider-Man's trying to work with him. I'm mad. We're going to kill some vampires.
Yeah,
I was like, chill out. I'm trying to work with you a little bit here. But getting all mad. So
yeah.
But in essence, overall, Blade we're looking forward to this movie. We're looking forward what he's going to bring, especially when he made the voice cameo appearance in the Eternals at the end. That was kind of neat. Even though in the comic books, I don't recall Blade ever interacting with the Eternals or the Black Knight.
Yeah, not really.
But hey, you know what? Again, we just got to deal with it. It's
and they
the
should have
MCU.
showed him. They just had
I think it's pay. If he made an appearance, 2-3 million.
Yeah.
You know how that goes. That's like in that. What was that? Alita, that Battle Angel. Battle Angel.
Yeah, I wish they would have continued.
Remember when
sorry,
what's his name? Edward Norton was sitting up top. I was like,
yeah,
that's what they paid you for.
I know, right?
There,
10 seconds.
10 seconds.
Yeah.
Obviously, he got paid well. I bet.
Must did. So yes, indeed, that's you get. We kind of gave that away. The spoiler. So we look forward to Moon Knight. Also, look forward to hearing us. As always, we just did a show of the Cutting Crew. We're about to have a new episode on Silver Cosmo movie reviews. And before we go, I just want to say on my end, thank you very much to the audience. Thank you guys for being here. Thanks for the people behind the scenes. Thank you so much. And to our sponsors, as always, we thank you guys.
Hey, just want to say a good thank you to, to Marvel and DC for putting out all these great characters for us to talk about, man.
Yeah.
And to all the, and especially to all the smaller comic book and individual comic book contributors that really do the hard work and make these guys fun to talk about.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone. Love you guys.
All right. Well, look forward to hearing you guys in the next episode. We're out.